You know what I hear from homeschool moms everywhere? They're looking for biblical accuracy in their children's Bible curriculum without the fluff. And according to a survey done by my friends at Lifestone Ministries, 46% of Christian families say that theological soundness is their biggest concern. Unlike workbook heavy programs that drain the joy from Scripture, the Illuminate Bible series from Lifestone Ministries will take your family deep into God's Word in just 15 minutes a day. No excessive crafts, no surface level lessons, just pure biblical truth. Each week's simple 5-step approach explores the story, context, scripture connections, and doctrine with real life application. At under $1 a lesson, one parent guide serves multiple children with age appropriate workbooks. Zero stress. Most families seek a curriculum based on Bible alignment above everything else, and this is where the Illuminate Bible series shines. Visit lifestoneministries.org/Heidi to anchor your child's learning in the Word of God. Hey, everybody, this is Heidi St. John. Welcome to the Heidi St. John podcast. Today, I am honored and blessed and encouraged and excited to have one of my favorite people on the planet on the show with me today, the most requested guest that we have here at the Heidi St. John podcast. Of course, I am referring to my friend and yours, Dr. Mark Sherwood. We're going to spend the next 40 minutes or so answering listener questions. So these move fast and furious, and maybe like me, you're not a doctor, but you feel like one by the time you're done listening to my friend Dr. Mark. So grab a piece of paper and a pencil and stick around. I think you're going to be encouraged. Well, thank you guys for tuning in today. You guys know that this show is sponsored in part by the Functional Medical Institute, and I'm so pleased to be able to work with them and pleased to have Dr. Mark on the show with me. My friend, it is great to see you. Welcome back.
Thank you. It's good to be back. It's great to see you as well. I'm certainly grateful for your friendship. They get really to help people, encourage them, give them some hope.
Yeah, we need it. I mean, you and I were just talking about this in the green room. This has been a hard year. I think we'd be lying if we said anything else. I think you and I both have been really just trudging through some hard things this year, and we're so thankful for the Lord and for His Word and for the wisdom that He gives us to sort of navigate situations that come to us with regard to our health. And so that's where we're going to start today. And I always have to laugh, Dr. Mark. The very first question is about a person who's wondering about stinky gas. So I guess that's just where I got to start today. So
That's
are you ready for me to jump in?
hard, actually. Yes. Let's start right there.
All right. Sarah in South Carolina, she gave us her name. So kudos to you, Sarah. She says, if you eat healthies, it's still normal to have stinky gas sometimes. Is that a bad sign or can it be normal? What say you, my friend?
Well, Sarah, before I answer your question, I've got to comment on your question and say that's a rotten question.
Yeah.
I appreciate you. That's actually a very courageous question because who would say publicly I've got bad gas? But with that said, Sarah, it is not normal to have stinky gas. What is happening is your body's not breaking down the food in the GI tract, so it's sitting there, and to really make a complicated place, uncomplicated, it's sitting there fermenting, it's sitting there rotting it, and what happens is it creates that methane gas that, well, it comes out the backside. It doesn't smell too pleasant.
No.
So what you can do is understand that you probably have some digestive enzyme. This is the most likely culprit, some digestive enzyme insufficiency. So get yourself some digestive enzymes. The one that I like and I use myself is called Zymozymes. Xymozymes. And I take 2 of those before, really, or after each meal. And they contain all the classic enzymes that help break down your proteins, carbohydrates, and fats. And that should help with the gas. Now, with that said, one more little nuanced movement of that I think would be understandable is if you're eating more raw food, more tendency to have more difficulty breaking it down, i.e., more gas. Maybe cook your food a little more steaming. That would also help as well. But, Sarah, again, I appreciate you. I remember we'll flow with your question, but I appreciate that. question because it's probably a question many of us have had sometimes. It's not normal as well. And one more thing I'll add is like beans, like beans and lentils, they've got those lectins on the outside that have a hard time breaking down. So if you're eating those things, and they tend to see that as, well, another one more joke. Beans, the magical fruit. The more you
The
eat,
more you eat, the more you toot. The more you
that's
toot,
it,
the better
right?
you feel. So let's have beans with every meal.
That's it. So you know the song, right? Um,
Heck, man, I know the song. I
yeah.
mean, I was in fourth grade one time.
Oh my gosh. And I'll stop right there with the continuation of that theme. But ultimately, you can look at soaking those beans, and that sometimes solves that problem.
Yep, I agree. This is also, I mean, not to belabor this, but it's also just reminds me of the Lion King. Do you remember Hakuna Matata? And Pumbaa was singing, he was, and it hurts when my friends always stand downwind. Remember that?
I love how you use that. That was very good voice, by the way. Very
Thank
good.
you. Thank
Mhm.
you. I also used to be in the choir, but I'm not anymore. All right. Cholesterol questions, blood sugar questions, metabolic health coming in. I'm going to start with Hillary in
Mhm.
Knoxville, Tennessee. She wants to know how she can naturally lower cholesterol. It's been creeping up since having kids, and now it's at 328.
Big question, Hillary. This is important. I hope everybody gets this. I'll say it probably twice within the next answer. Cholesterol is not the problem. Cholesterol has zero connection to disease. It is the damage to the cholesterol molecule, the LDL cholesterol molecule, that contributes to the association of diseases like cardiovascular disease. We need cholesterol for our brain, we need it for cell membrane repair, and we need to have it for hormone formation. In your case, Hillary, here's a key thing to understand. As you have aged, you near menopause. Hormones are made from cholesterol. Therefore, as you near menopause and hormones become more dysfunctional in their creation abilities,
That's why we call it menopause.
it's mean opause, but also cholesterol goes to the roof because your
Yep.
body's trying to create material to build that. So it's not about lowering it, it's about understanding it. And you want to do some advanced testing to see if it is a problem. Some other markers that you can test, and you want to write these down, is oxidized LDL, known as oxLDL. Another one is LPPLA2. So oxLDL and LPPLA2. And then you also maybe want to look at a lipid fractionation where you break down your LDL, VLDL, and HDL particles to see if they're getting smaller or not. So these are really important to catch um, ahead of time. So great question, Hillary. I appreciate that. But the second time I said this, cholesterol itself is not the source of disease. So don't just lower it because it's elevated.
Yep. And honestly, you guys, I have been seeing Dr. Mark and Dr. Michelle now for a while, a couple of years, and I've had my blood work done several times. And this has been a problem for me since I was, oh, I don't know, knee high to a grasshopper. And so they did the oxidized LDL with me, and I mean, there are things that she can do, right? If she finds out that that's high, one of the things that you guys told me to do was increase my omega 3s. Like,
Yeah.
how important is that, Dr. Mark?
100% of the people I've tested for the last 15 years, my wife would be included in that stat, have been deficient in omega 3 fatty acids, meaning that we're getting too much omega 6 and not enough omega 3, which creates this whole pathology of increasing inflammation in the body,
Yep.
including creating more susceptibility to cardiovascular disease and particle damage, which is very, very significant. So, we believe that you should have an omega index or omega check percentage between 8 and 12% of whole blood. So, you've got to get it up there at least to 3 grams. My favorite on this one is Biomega 1000, and I like to take 3. And I have no problem recommending 3 for people that are over 12, 3 grams. And I think that that's a reasonable thing to do. But having said that, that's not too much. Your blood's going to clot okay. And the only caveat with that is if you have clotting disorders, you might look at it, but that's a rare thing.
Yeah. Yep, I agree. And I was so encouraged. You guys, you can see Dr. Mark, Dr. Michelle, check them out at homeschoolhealth.com. We'll talk more about that as we wrap up the show today. Judy in Gilbert, Arizona is 58 years old. Her A1C is 5.8 to match her age, apparently. I have controlled hypothyroid and Hashimoto's. My mom Had Alzheimer's for 19 years, and so I'm concerned about risk. I exercise, I eat clean, only small amounts of honey and maple syrup. What else can I do to lower my A1C and reduce Alzheimer's risk?
Well, you look at the whole dietary intake you have there, Judy, because there's something that's causing a little bit of higher blood sugar than you want. There is a connection between high blood sugar and Alzheimer's disease. Alzheimer's disease has three components that we know of, probably more, but at least these three. One is brain toxicity, because the brain's an organ of fat and it accumulates toxins. Another one is a lack of hormones. Hello. So again, back to our cholesterol question, don't lower cholesterol just for the sake of lowering it, because it causes less hormone development and availability to the brain. The third component of this Alzheimer's is something called type 3 diabetes. Yes, I said that right. It is insulin resistance of the brain, meaning when we have type 2 diabetes, we actually have type 3 diabetes as well. It's the same process. So in your case, Judy, there's a lot you can do. I recommend getting a genetic test done to determine true susceptibilities, true associations. Genes don't create the disease process. They just give clinicians insight as to where risk factors might be. You want to get your hormones tested, of course. I don't know where you are in the potential menopausal scale. I know that metabolically, there's a connection between the thyroid optimization and hemoglobin A1C as well. So you want to get into that a little bit. But there is a lot, and I'm going to say that again, there is a lot you can do to prevent the idea of Alzheimer's dementia. Take that risk factor, that thought process, that fear factor, whatever you want to call it, take it away. You don't have to live like that. I have a hatred towards brain diseases. I really do. And I want to see them all go away. And I think they're all avoidable.
Wow. Kim in Phoenix says her husband stopped statins and switched to supplements, but his cholesterol's still very high. His dad has developed dementia after years on statins, and so we believe it's familial. His numbers, his LDL is 218, his HDL is 32, his triglycerides are 227. Uh, anyway, you see all those notes there, Mark. What do you recommend?
Well, Kim, first of all, I believe that the cholesterol, as again, I've stated before, is not the issue. In this case, in this question, you mentioned the triglycerides at 227. That is too high. Now, having said that, that could be a familial hypertriglyceridemia situation, could be, or it could be because the diet has too many carbohydrates in it. But that's your key element right there. You got to investigate that right there. What's causing the triglycerides to be up? If they're up from a familial hypertriglyceridemia standpoint, where we just don't break them down, you can take fenofibrates and things like that to lower that down and take the risk away. If it's driven by diet, you can change the diet and lower those things. My target on those things is below 100. And that's very key. So in this case, there's a lot of things, Cam, your husband can do. But in this case specifically, it sounds like you're really thinking the right way, because you said statin drugs are going to lower LDL and they're associated with dementia. So you kind of got the thought process down. Now I suggest you find a clinician that will work with you and help you understand this and work with you all through this process to give confidence to your husband in being able to get the numbers down where they're manageable, but understand how he can avoid that dreaded disease.
How important is it, not to make this all about me, but I had my follow-up appointment for my most recent blood work with Michelle, as you know, a couple of days ago. And this has been something I've struggled, like I said, my entire life. And she was talking to me about just 15 minutes a day of walking
Yeah.
and exercise. I think sometimes people, and I would put myself in this category because, like I told you, I've had a really hard time getting, since my surgery, just getting back into the gym and getting my life sort of back on track. And Michelle was trying to simplify it for me. And she was like, get out and walk, even if it's just 15 minutes, like 7.5 minutes one direction and 7.5 minutes back. Like, don't overthink it. How important is this for this gentleman who's struggling with these numbers?
Well, I think that we forget the component of stress or even cortisol,
Boy, for real.
blood sugar. So cortisol is a glucocorticoid, gluco root for glucose, meaning that when you secrete a bunch of cortisol, you're supposed to secrete a bunch of glucose. Your digestion goes down, so your body will begin to find all sources necessary to create glucose to give your body the ability to run from whatever's trying to chase you and eat you. That's life today. The
Yeah.
thing to do to metabolize adrenaline, which is the thing that comes out before cortisol, is to do what? Walk.
Mhm.
Go for a walk. When you get up and move, not only do we begin to metabolize adrenaline, but we also begin to initiate an enzyme breakup or a hormone called leptin, which begins to break down, our hunger mechanisms and things like that. We initiate lipase, which begins to break down fat. It's very, very good process. And I tell people the same way is just get your tennis shoes on and move.
Yep.
Bodies are made to move. The only
Yep.
day you don't move is the day you're dead. That's a fact.
Yes, that is a fact.
Every day that you're alive, you should make a point to move. You don't need to go to the gym. Gyms have only been around for probably 100 years. You don't need to
Mhm.
go to the gym. Jesus had a six pack. So can you. You know, I'm serious
That's
about it.
so good.
You got to think about, your feet are made for more than sitting under a desk and crossing in front of legs in front of a TV.
Boy,
They're
it's so true.
emulator move. So, the first start is set yourself a goal, maybe. No, I mean, even per day, it's 10 minutes, 15 minutes, but you can even set it per week. How about 100 minutes per week or 150 minutes per week? And don't put pressure on yourself. Just do a weekly goal and just finish that goal. If you get more, great on you, man. But
Mhm.
set the goal where you failure proof it, where you
Yeah.
just be so simple you can't fail. And then that
Yeah.
builds upon itself because you will feel better.
What if your morning cup of coffee could do more than just wake you up? Introducing coffee from my friends at Equipping the Persecuted. It's a high end specialty roast coffee that's been crafted with excellence. But here's the difference: 100% of every dollar you spend with Equipping the Persecuted goes directly to saving the lives of persecuted Christians in Nigeria. Over the last 5 years, 90% of Christian persecution deaths worldwide have occurred in Nigeria. That's why every bag of ETP coffee matters. The Bible says, whatever you eat or drink, do it all to the glory of God. And with ETP coffee, your daily cup becomes an act of faith, providing food, medical aid, schools, and protection for those suffering simply because they follow Christ. So drink coffee that makes an eternal impact. Order now at etpcoffee.com and share the mission by inviting friends to join you at etpcoffee.com. Yeah, it's so true. I have never regretted going for a walk.
No.
I've never regretted it. You come home and you're like, "All right, I just did the thing and went for a and you feel better, and the air is so crisp and cool right now. It's so great. I mean, unless you're in Kentucky and you're buried in 5 feet of snow, like my
Yeah, I'm
friend
sure that's
Panham.
not a good scenario.
That's true. A little harder. All right, Julie in Milledgeville. I think that's how you say it, Georgia. She says her otherwise healthy 89-year-old mother has peripheral artery disease and significant leg and foot pain. Is there anything else that she can do to reduce the pain? Wow, 89 years old.
Well, 89 is what an accomplishment, what a badge of honor. So, Julie,
Yeah.
you got a treasure there on your hands. So just honor
Yes.
what you can. So
Yeah.
when you get this peripheral arterial disease process, you get this plaque building process or constriction of the arteries where blood doesn't flow very well. So what happens is you can actually increase that blood flow. I use a little product called NO2U, NO the number 2U. Actually, it looks like this right here. I got it on my desk. I use it every day. See,
You
and
use that every day?
every single day.
What do you what for?
So this is cool. And this is not a product advertisement. This is a science advertisement. So this little wafer here has sodium nitrite. When
Okay.
your vessels get stiff in here, they don't produce enough nitric oxide, so they don't dilate or relax. So the vessels get tight and stiff. So when you put sodium nitrite like this in your mouth, boom, you just let that wafer just sit there and just melt. It takes 5 or 10 minutes, right? Just kind of tuck it in your cheek or something like that. The sodium nitrite that comes from the wafer combines with your oral bacteria. As those two substances combine in your gut, poof, you get the creation in your GI tract of nitric oxide gas, which then goes systemically in your arteries and it causes the vessels to relax. Pretty cool. And so we use this to keep pressure down. We use it to get better blood flow to the brain, to the feet, to the hands, etc. It works amazing. One or two a day is pretty much good for people. And so, if it's more
So if
severe,
someone has cold hands or cold feet, would it be helpful?
yes, 100%, 100%.
What?
And
I'm
some,
learning things today. Look at me. I've just added to my honorary doctor degree
no,
on the
you
wall.
got it. And also, look at body heat. Even for that, look at thyroid, because sometimes we run the thyroid way too low. And the thyroid becomes hypofunctional as time goes on. And we don't check the numbers right because we focus on TSH instead of the active thyroid T3. So it
Oh.
becomes a little bit of art form to kind of manipulate the system up. Now, for this young woman, Julie, you can also, as a young woman, to see this and tell your mom, you could
She's
also,
89 years young.
89 years young, you can also use something called pycnogenol, big old word, right? Or something called ginkgo biloba. Both of those
Mm.
are happy or for good for this. So you got between 100 and maybe 200 milligrams a day, and those help also with creating more vasodilation and they lessen arterial stiffness. So there's a lot of things you can do, and obviously, back to what we talked about previously. How about a good old walk, man?
Come on. Come on. Go for a walk. Go for a walk. Is there anyone who that would be contraindicated for?
For the nitric oxide stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Not really. Nitric oxide gas, or the discovery of that, is a pretty recent phenomenon. It actually won a Nobel Prize back about 20 years
No
ago.
kidding.
And
Ah,
it's fascinating because a lot of people believe it's actually an essential molecule, meaning we have to have it. I kind of fall in that camp as well because it actually signals a lot of good processes that lead to lower oxidation of the body, lower inflammation, better circulation. So I don't know that it would be contraindicated. I think there's a lot of people just don't know about it. And it's
yeah.
out there. Unfortunately, I have a saying that goes like this: what is unknown becomes unacceptable. And that's kind of the fallback. And I think we all gotta open our minds to realize that in God's creation, his favorite creation, mankind, there is nothing more phenomenal, nothing more unbelievable, nothing more unfathomable than mankind, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We're always discovering what it does and what it doesn't do, but we're never going to reach the bottom or the end of that discovery process.
Mm.
We need to continue to explore and open our minds to the possibilities that we don't have it all figured out.
Yeah. So good. And we're always learning.
Yes.
We've got some women's health questions. Denise Weaver in New Mexico says, do you recommend annual breast exams if there's no family history of breast cancer? What are the risks that should be considered? I'm
Well,
imagining she's talking about mammograms when she says breast exams.
yeah, let's assume mammograms in this case. I think the radiation people worry about for good reason. But Denise, what you want to do is you want to palpate or feel around the breast area to make sure you're not noticing any lumps or things like that that are popping up. Um, Obviously, if you know something like that, it warrants good investigation. But the first place I typically go is thermography. I think thermography is awesome. It looks for heat sources. It's not going to be exposing you to a bunch of radiation. It's just kind of like, you're going to stand in front of a camera. I know you've done this before, Heidi. We've talked about
Yes.
it.
Yes,
Uh,
sir. I did it.
right in front of people. They take a picture of you right there,
Yep.
and they look
Yep.
for heat sources. You're going to find heat in different places of the body anyway. But what you look for, if there's two breasts there and you have a heat source in one that's a little bit brighter than the other, like a sort of a not equal breakdown of that. When you see that, that warrants further investigation as well. And then you might go down the path with mammogram, if those things line up. But as far as just doing them routinely, we don't really fall in that camp unless there's suspicion.
Yeah. And if they do find that heat source, then you do the mammogram,
Bingo,
correct?
bingo, yeah,
Okay.
100%.
Yeah. All right. This is good. A listener from Montana has had a tubal. She's wondering if a tubal ligation is a good option if another pregnancy would be dangerous. I've heard about post tubal symptoms. Would it be better just to leave things as they are? This is kind of hard, Dr. Marcus. She doesn't really say why a pregnancy would be dangerous.
Well, this is a good point, and I know and appreciate you, whoever you are in Montana, asking this question because there's a lot of nuanced answers to this. Obviously, who told you why it was dangerous and what would be the reason for that? I think there's risk factors that we were perhaps I don't know about. We don't know about.
Yes.
The second part of it is your age. Where are you at in that? I think that's a big deal. What is your current health of hormone status? I think that's a huge deal as well. But as far as tubal ligation as a premise, they're greater than 99% effective. They really are. And so they do prevent pregnancies at that level if that's a desire. So we have not seen that the risk outweigh the design of that at present. So, I think of all the things you could do to prevent pregnancy, this is certainly better than taking birth control. if you could look at it like that. So, but there's a lot to this. I think I would like to know, more of the story behind the story, if you will. But as far as just a tubal ligation to prevent pregnancy, if you're getting older and think it might be more risky, probably not a bad move with prayer, peace, and wisdom.
Yep. Yep. Meg in Ohio is 43 with suspected inflammatory breast cancer. It hasn't been confirmed yet. She has 3 young children. She wants to do everything she can to support her health. She's wanting to know any guidance, diet, supplements, anything you think would help.
Well, Meg, there's a lot you can do. One is do your best to keep a positive mindset and stay prayed up and stay peaceful and get around people that can help you. From a dietary perspective, hardcore anti-inflammatory. You've got to keep that thing anti-inflammatory. Moderate protein and good vegetable content, above ground non-root vegetables, very key. I like a supplement that generates sulforaphane, which is called Enduracell, Enduracell. I do like in this situation, we have not seen a problem with it using a little bit of ivermectin and fenbendazole. No reason you can't do that. I also like molecular hydrogen, whether you want to inhale it or consume it, that's a win, period. I like the peptide thymosin alpha 1 a lot for this. I think that does reset your immune system, etc. There's another peptide called metenkephalin that can be very helpful as well. There's a lot you can do from a positive standpoint that's proactive. My encouragement for you, Meg, is to not be just completely reactive and just don't go by what people tell you. Always do your proactive research. Do what you can do when you can do it and do it as you can. And I promise you, by keeping a positive attitude, you will extend the hope meter a lot in what you have as far as options.
Hmm. That is good advice. Alyssa in Colorado says you've recommended Acnetrol for acne. My 16-year-old son struggles with this. I'm concerned about the high vitamin uh, A dose, 15,000 mcgs, and the risk of toxicity. Have you seen issues with this?
Well, long term, you can. And that's why we don't recommend this usage of long term because of that very reason. So I would just pulse it for a while until the process stops. But because vitamin A is a fat soluble vitamin, meaning it can build up into tissues, that can create the potential toxicity. So 15,000 micrograms is a high dose. Anything really over about 8 or 10 is considered like above standard. So you got to come at this high dose for a little bit. So with Agnitrol, I think the dose on that bottle is maybe 6 capsules or something like that. 6 capsules equates to 15,000. So if you want to cut that down, you could go 3 and probably cut that down to 7,500, meaning less toxicity potential, and use it for longer term. So again, this is a good formula, but it's not designed to be used long term because chronic, acne is not designed to be experienced long term either.
Right, exactly. Rory in Kansas City, Missouri says she's having knee surgery and would like your recommendation on peptides for recovery. This person is in their late 40s. I am a super fan of peptides, as you well know. You guys put me on those from the moment, right away after my diagnosis. I think they were really helpful.
100%. So, Roy, this is pretty much straightforward, and I think Heidi would vouch for this. There's two that I really, really like for the situation, both pre-type surgeries and post-type surgeries and prehabilitative action and rehabilitative action. In other words, I like these all the time. BPC 157 and thymosin beta 4. These are two of my favorites. BPC is more of a peptide that sort of initiates collagen repair, tissue repair, muscle repair, joint repair, whereas thymosin beta 4 initiates the immune system action to cause that repair to occur. So synergistically, these two guys work together in an amazing way. And obviously, at the same time, I would also bring in some general collagen. So I like the Kingdom collagen for that. It's got 5
Hmm.
collagen plus silica. So this is a nice trifecta as you're talking about trying to bring healing to this joint. And I mean, frankly, anybody out there that works out, is active, nonetheless having injuries from time to time, these are peptides and that I would recommend all the time.
These days, we need to be really careful about what we hand to our kids and our grandkids. With gender ideology and atheism creeping into children's entertainment, even Christmas gifts now require discernment. This is why I love Brave Books. They have become my go to gift. They're beautiful, faith filled stories with strong biblical values, memorable characters, and even hands on family games built right into every book. They teach courage, forgiveness, and God given identity in a way that kids love. When you join the Brave Book Club, you'll get a brand new book every month, plus my book for free, and full access to Brave Plus, their streaming platform that is full of wholesome shows. Right now, you can get 20% off by using code Heidi20 at HeidiBrave.com. That's HeidiBrave.com and use the code Heidi20 for 20% off. It's a gift that will keep planting truth long after Christmas is over. Yep. And I cannot recommend them highly enough. I'm still taking BPC 157,
Yeah,
and your girl Heidi I tore the rotator cuff, as you know, Mark, in
yeah.
my left shoulder. Having a heck of a hard time. This has not been my favorite year. It just
No.
hasn't been my favorite year. Anyway, but I just started injecting that because of your recommendation,
Yes,
right into my shoulder to try because I'm trying to avoid surgery
yes.
with this tear. And so the idea is right to rebuild that tissue and hopefully help me not need rotator cuff surgery. I just don't want to do that. So
No, and see,
uh
the peptides are outstanding as far as a rebuilding, restructuring, repairing, even avoidance process. So, I
yes,
think as long as there's a substance of tissues there hanging on, to me, that gives us a substance, even a shred of hope, if you
I
will.
do have some tissue hanging on. They told me when I
There you
had my
go.
MRI. They said it's only 75% torn.
Well, okay, so
I
that
got 25% hanging on there, Mark.
compare the 75% and make it 100. How about that?
That's right. That's exactly right. All right, Amanda in Nebraska. She says, at my 11-year-old's well child visit, they recommended, oh, this is a shocker, meningitis, HPV, and Tdap vaccines. I've read concerning things about vaccines, but our pediatrician strongly encouraged the Tdap due to rising pertussis, which is whooping cough. What are your thoughts, and where can parents find reliable research?
Well, it's interesting. The where, I'll start with that question first. That's the difficult thing because the information out there is not an information highway. It's an information segregation standard.
So
It's
true.
terrible.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
can't find stuff. I even did a couple in preparation for our time with even this question. I did a little research on one of my favorite programs called Consensus AI, which is supposed to be um, sort of this non-biased platform.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't
Mm-hmm.
find anything that wasn't pretty biased, actually. So,
It's so true because somebody had to create that,
yeah, and so
right?
you just don't find a lot of information. But here's what I know, Amanda, about vaccines. They do stimulate the immune system, i.e., they will create inflammatory action. We know that. We know that some of them have been studied for a time by creating these, putting in small amounts of a substance, a virus or whatever, that is designed to get your body to adapt to that by creating antibodies to that thing they just put in there and creating a memory. So under that concept, I suppose you got, conceptually speaking, scientific thinking wise, that kind of makes sense. But here's the thing. When you put those things in one after the other, after the other, after the other, you're hitting the body with so many inflammatory bombs, it
Yep.
cannot keep up. And I think that's part of the problem. We started off before the Vaccine Liability Act with 4 or 5 up to 2 years old, and then we went to like 30 in a year.
Yep.
It's the volume of those things, and it's become a money game. My
Yep.
advice for any parent out there, whether it be Amanda or Heidi or Mark, you gotta seek God's guidance with these things.
Yep.
And I couldn't be more straightforward with that. He is the good physician. He, in my mind, is the only physician to inquire about for serious matters. He's number one. So you ask him first. You try to find peace in that. If you do decide to go down the pathway of vaccines, I'm not anti-vaccine. Like some of them are great. I mean, you look at like the polio vaccine. Is that
Yep.
something that we think is bad? We don't think it's bad. We think science actually is matched up with it being good.
Yep.
So, having said that, you don't want to give these things in quick succession, regardless. Give it some time, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, and
Yeah,
make
they don't
sure.
have to be done all at once. And I agree. I think, and parents, This happened to me when I was raising my children. They'll go in for these well child checks, and the pressure.
It's
I'm
terrible.
not kidding you. The
Terrible.
pressure that the nurses even and the doctors put on you and the way they look at you and the scorn if you decide, "Oh, I don't wanna do all of these," you really have to pull your big girl pants on when you go in there and just say, "This is what I've decided to do." With our children, my mom, years and years ago my mom's a nurse, and, she has her master's degree in nursing, has been doing it for a long time. And she was witness to a young girl who immigrated here from Romania who
Mhm.
was injured by a vaccine, a whole bunch of vaccines. And this girl had, I mean, severe, what they called it back then was retardation. We know it now, I think, as autism, just severely autistic. And so when I started having children, way back in the early 90s, my mom said, don't give them vaccines all at once. She was not anti-vaccine. She was just saying, "Slow it down." And
Yeah.
even then, Dr. Mark, even then in the early 90s when I was like, "Yeah, I don't want all of these. I'm gonna do this one this time and wait a month, I'll come back. And if it
Yeah.
takes you a long time to get your kids through a vaccine schedule, oh well. Oh well." And none of my children suffered from a vaccine injury. And I think you're right. I feel like we've just overwhelmed the body's ability to fight such inflammation.
Yeah, I think a lot of people need to start thinking like you just described very so eloquently, is when these small substances come into your body, if the small substances coming in right now, isolated away from anything else, is that really a danger? Probably not. Can your body, being young and very highly adaptive with the immune system standpoint, can it adapt? Probably so. But it's time.
Mhm.
It takes time to adapt and learn. But when you hit a small substance, small stuff, that's the equivalent of
Yep.
throwing a small bomb on the same spot.
Yep.
It's the equivalent of a big bomb.
Yep.
You use the atomic bomb as an analogy. That's one bomb that blew up everything. But what if you threw 50 bombs, 1/50th of the power of that atomic bomb on the same spot? You got
Mhm.
the same power as the
That's right.
atomic bomb. And I think people need to start thinking like that. So I just encourage all parents to really do exactly what your mom encouraged you to do: is slow down, take your time, spread them out, and pray and get peace over each one of them.
That's exactly right. And I'm still amazed when a little tiny baby's born, they want to give them Hep B. Are you insane? Or that's just insane.
Doesn't
Hep
make me
B is a sexually transmitted disease. There's no reason why a little tiny baby needs a Hep B vaccine. It's so dumb. HPV, come on, you guys.
silly.
Use your head. Because I agree with you, Dr. Mark. It makes me angry. It's a money thing, and
It is.
and people are getting injured from it. Holy moly, makes me mad. All right, last question today. Malia in Grand Rapids, Michigan says recent news reports say erythritol can increase stroke risk. It's one of my favorite sugar
Mhm.
substitutes, and monk fruit often contains this, which you've recommended. What are your thoughts?
Well, erythritol, xylitol, um, maltitol, these
All
polyols,
the talls.
all the tols, those can actually, back to our first question of the day, those can actually create bad smelling gas, just FYI. Uh,
Oh, now
know
we're
that,
gonna. We
but they
started
can't.
with stinky gas. We're gonna end with it.
And we started with a rotten question, now we end with a rotten answer. But a little bit on today's little show with Heidi. But the bottom line is, when you see that, I looked at this study. I actually saw this study a while back. Somebody sent it to me, but it's an association study. They look at a population. They sort of do an analysis of a questionnaire. So when you do analysis using questionnaires of people's own information that they give you, and they say, well, at the end of the 5-year study, the people that said they used this much of erythritol, they had a 50% more associated risk with cardiovascular disease or stroke. It doesn't mean that you have a cause and effect. Association does not mean causality. And I think that's
Okay.
the key thing to understand when you're looking and most studies are set up like that, that you can't rule out other things. In this case, you can't rule out other things. What were they doing? What were they eating? Was the group that took erythritol, were they eating French fries every day? And the ones that were doing something else not?
Yeah.
I mean,
What else was going on?
we don't know. So I think
Yeah.
it's always good information, but the headlines in these things, these articles really bother me because they're actually misleading. And they lead people down a pathway of fear. And anything, this goes for Malia or anybody else, when you're reading a study, If it has a headline that denotes fear, you always should have a question about that, because not to be over spiritual here, but the bottom line is, who is the author of fear?
Yep.
And so if you look at an article written, who's the author of fear, and you draw that association, I think you've
Yep.
got more of a
Hello, COVID.
causation relationship there. So I think there's a lot to think about that, but I don't see erythritol as being a direct cause of stroke, although the Cleveland Clinic did have some evidence that showed it actually created red blood cell activity, which could be associated, once again, with more clots, but they didn't say erythritol caused the clots.
All right, you guys, it's almost the brand new year. And if you are longing to grow deeper in your walk with the Lord in 2026, but you don't want to do it alone, I want to invite you to join Faith That Speaks. It's my online women's Bible study community. This year, we're going to be reading through the Bible together again, and we're adding a brand new Bible study track where we're going to explore the 7 churches of Revelation, learn how to study scripture with confidence, and apply God's timeless truths to everyday life. Each week, you're going to join me and our amazing team of mentors live on Zoom for teaching, encouragement, and fellowship with other women who genuinely love the Lord. And this group is tight, I am telling you. When I'm traveling, our mentor team steps in so you never miss a week of discipleship or connection. Basic membership at Faith That Speaks is just under $20 a month, and beginning in 2026, we're going to be introducing exciting new tiers with even more benefits and access. So if you're ready to grow in the Lord, build friendships that are rooted in the truth, and develop a faith that actually speaks into the world around you, come join me. Visit faiththatspeaks.com to learn more about it and become part of this thriving community of women who study God's word today. And it can't hurt, maybe if you're worried about it, maybe back it up just a little bit and use some common sense. Pray about it. I love that. Dr. Mark, we're out of time for today. I know that people are wondering, if they had a question, they want to come see you guys, like I do, because I
Yeah.
don't live obviously where you guys are, the beautiful state of Oklahoma. I'm over here in Washington State, but I just had a Zoom appointment with you guys the other day. I've had my blood work done. A lot of this stuff can be done remotely. If someone's interested in connecting with you, what's the best way for them to do it?
Well, they can go to homeschoolhealth.com. I mean, we can be contacted right there. There's a way we kind of lead persons down a pathway of helping them out. We give a free webinar. Yes, I said free. It's the second Tuesday of each month, starting at 6:30 p.m. Central. And we do those every single month on the second Tuesday. And my wife and I present on kind of what we do, just an overall lecture, if you will, for about 25 to 30 minutes on all the things that we do and the way we think. And then people can actually ask us questions. And it's actually us answering the questions. So, in all that is free. And if people like what they hear and like what they feel, we open up spots for them from that webinar that they can plug into and schedule an appointment right then. Typically, they're out there anywhere from 2 or 3 weeks, so it's pretty close. But if people want to schedule out there a little farther, they can, with the holiday season. But we do that all 12 months of the year, every year. We've done that for a number of years, but then people get a consult with us, and we set up an individualized, personalized plan for them to go forward.
Yep, it's true. And all of your medications, all that. I mean, all my hormones, you guys have me on hormones now. I feel so much better. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna lie. Like, my night sweats are gone. I'm actually sleeping again. And I've discovered, I just learned the other day now, all my blood work says I am postmenopausal. So look
Yeah.
at that.
Congratulations.
I made it through menopause.
You
Dun
did.
dun
You didn't get,
dun.
which is awesome. I love that.
I'm telling you what, I still say this has not been my favorite year. I still give it 3 out of 10 stars.
Yeah.
But you guys are part of the stars. So it's really good to see you, my friend. Thank you, thank you, thank you for taking the time and coming on the show today. I love you guys to the moon and back, as you well know, and appreciate so much your heart for people. Thanks for being here.
No, we love you guys too, and it's always a pleasure to be with you. It's one of my favorite things to do, to get to help people. So thanks for having me, and thanks for your friendship.
You're very welcome. Well, it absolutely shows. You guys are dealing hope, and a lot of people are getting blessed by it. Thank you for coming on today.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. All right, you guys, that's it for today. Thanks for tuning in. If you've got a question for either myself or the fake doctor or the real doctor, Dr. Mark, you can go to heidistjohn.com/fan mail Friday. We're hoping to, at the beginning of next year, break out those questions a little bit more so that you guys have a specific place for Dr. Mark's questions because we get so many of them. But we love answering your questions, and I know Dr. Mark looks forward to it. So we'd love to hear from you. HeidiSt.John.com/fan-mail Friday. If you want to connect with the Sherwoods directly, go to homeschoolhealth.com. That's homeschoolhealth.com. Listen, you guys, we love you. We want you to be healthy and whole. Walk with Jesus, you guys. Get into the Word of God. It is a lamp to your feet and a light to your path. And it really is. I think we need it now more than we've ever needed it. So get into the Word of God, you guys. Go to church and encourage each other. Thank you so much for listening. I'll see you back here again at the intersection of faith and